Привет всем, с вами я, Janey, и это How Janey Learned Russian, and you can too. Janey learned genitive case, and you really can too. We're going to work on it together. So that's actually what we're doing today is drilling. I know everybody hates that, but we're like, seriously, the only way out is through when it comes to learning the Russian cases. Is just put your head down, get to work, just practice, 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 do the yucky stuff. So today we're doing the yucky stuff. Don't worry, I'll keep it fun. I'll keep it lighthearted. I'll take good care of you. So stick with me today. This is all part of my textbook. But even if you don't have the textbook, you can still kind of practice along if you want. So we'll be practicing our masculine and neuter because they're the same, noun and adjective endings in today's video, and we'll be really working in the book. So if you don't have the book yet, you can get the ebook over on Patreon. You can also get a hard copy book. I send that within the United States, and that'll come to you priority mail. Most people get it within a few days. So I highly recommend, I'm a big fan of like actually writing things out with my little paws. I feel like it's interesting, even my kids, they're Gen Z, and they even say that they learn better when they have to actually write stuff out and not just do everything on their Chromebooks. So I'm a big believer in actually writing things out. Anyway, so you can access all of that information over on my Patreon. The link is in the description below. Let's review what we learned yesterday. Okay, so I'm going to read you some sentences, and you tell me which of these sentences has an invisible of in them, right? So this is kind of a tricky thing, is finding the invisible of in Russian. Okay, so let's read some of these sentences. Я из большого города. Yes, this has genitive case, but is there an invisible of? No. There's a from, and it's very visible. It's the is, but there's no invisible of necessarily. Okay? Next one. Это собаки нашего соседа. Это собаки нашего соседа. What do you think? Is there an invisible of in here? And in English, of is the same as apostrophe S. So what we're saying is these are the dogs of our neighbor. These are our neighbors, apostrophe S, dogs. So yes, there is an invisible of or a apostrophe S here. Next. У него два брата. Is there an invisible of there? No. There's a very visible два, which is making us need genitive case, right? Okay, let's look at this one. Он учится на факультете русской литературы. So на факультете is in prepositional case, but why would we suddenly get genitive case just out of nowhere? На факультете русской литературы. Oh, the faculty of Russian literature. That was my dream. Я хотела. I wanted to get a PhD на факультете русской литературы. But they don't really have many of those programs anymore. Anyway, so yes, there was an invisible of here. The faculty of Russian literature. Вот так. Вот так. Okay, so наш интересный кусочек информации дня из жизни Льва Николаевича Толстого. So look at this. Names get cases too. I'm sorry, I didn't want to have to be the one to tell you this, but names get cases. Oh, it's brutal. And it's kind of weird sometimes. So look at what happens to Lev in genitive case. Lev Николаевич Толстой is the original. And we put it into genitive case. Надо знать Льва Nikolaevича Толстого. Isn't that crazy? Okay, so really though, let's talk about Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy. I have a love-hate relationship with him. I love his literature. I love his books. Really struggle with him as a person and at whether he should be revered as a prophet of sorts, because he was a bit of a jerk to his wife and his kids. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. Anyway, so интересный факт из жизни Льва Николаевича Толстого. He was дворянин. He was born in dvoryanin, so somewhat privileged aristocracy. He was born into the aristocracy, but later on in his life, he felt like truth lay in hard work, being together with nature, being together with the land. So he really started to consider himself a крестьянин, a peasant, and would go out in the field and, pashet, I don't know, how do you say that? Plow the fields like a peasant would. So as you can see, here he is doing his military service. He's born into a aristocratic family. Следующий интересный факт. Okay, let's see if you can understand this one in Russian, because you know how has works. У Льва Николаевича Толстого 13 детей. 13 детей. 13 детей. 5 of them died, but 13 детей. And it's super funny that he was a big fan, supposedly, of abstinence. Funny. That's super funny. Okay, so he later on tried to preach abstinence, but still managed to have 13 children. Anyway, so yes, big family. So it's understandable why I feel like it was a very cruel and irresponsible of him to just abandon his family and leave his family. And that's actually how he died. So that's the последний интересный факт. He decided he couldn't take it anymore and just abandoned his wife, Sophia, and their children. And essentially he had pneumonia and kind of collapsed at the train station. The train master took him into the little house, like the станционный смотритель, the train master's house, and he died there. And here you can see them carrying him out in his coffin. So that's kind of interesting that he died in the process of running away from his family. That's kind of a sad, lasting legacy to leave at the end of your life. But people still revere him, and, I love his literature. He's so freaking good. But that's where I draw the line. I don't think of him as a prophet of any sort. So, хорошо. Это интересный факт дня. Let me know in the comments how you feel about Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy. And most people don't agree with me, so that's totally fine. And most people are super offended that I dare say such things about Tolstoy. Anyway, so we are working in the textbook today. It is page страница 56, 57. Вот. Нет, это не то, что я хочу. Вот это вот. Так. А вот так, а вот так. Вот так. Окей, хорошо. Все будет хорошо. Все будет хорошо. Я это знаю. Okay, here we go. So, this is the day where we just practice putting words into the case that we're learning. This is the comprehend/concentrate section of our PCP. And so we'll just drill at first, and then we practice putting it into actual sentences that need genitive case, okay? So we're not just going to do these words in isolation. We're going to bring them to life with actual sentences in just a minute. But first, we're going to drill. Okay, here we go. So, if the original form ends in a consonant, we add an a, right? So student goes to studenta. Universitet goes to universiteta, etc. If the original ends in an o, like neuter, right, we replace the o with a. Akna. Da? Akno, we replace the vowel with akna. Next, if it ends in ikratkaya, the e with the hat, ye, like a neuter, or мягкий знак, we replace those things, и краткое е, мягкий знак, with я. Okay, so something like учитель would go to учителя. Okay, so here we go. Let's put some of these words into genitive case. Brat. I've been saying this one in some of my previous sentences. Brat. Brat is just going to go to brata. Everybody gets to see my horrible handwriting again. Занятие, a neuter. What happens to ye? We replace it with the ya, okay? And we've seen that before in a plural, right? Do you remember that? Занятия. So if you ever see the word занятия, it's either a plural nominative or it's genitive singular. And you just got to look at surrounding clues to help you figure it out. Because you're smart and you can handle that. You really can, okay? Amerikanец, don't forget about fleeting vowels. They still exist, okay? I remember I told you when we were first learning words like Amerikanец and подарок, I said, don't get attached to these yes and os. That's a fleeting vowel. It's going to break your heart every time. It's going to be there at first, and then it's going to take off when stuff starts to get real, you know? And sure enough, Amerikanец, we're going to lose that yeah, and we're going to get Amerikanca. Amerikanca. Okay, because we had a fleeting vowel. Yets endings and ok endings have fleeting vowels. Okay, so I just said that. That o is going to leave, but we're going to need to put an ah on the end of the word to make a genitive. So what is that going to look like? That's going to look like Podarka. Yeah? Don't show up. Don't show up to a date with a Russian woman and say, Oi, у меня нет подарка. Don't do that. That's not going to be good for you. That will be your last date with that Russian woman. Okay. Next. Чай. Okay, it ends in и краткое. What happens to an и краткое? It gets replaced with a ya. So it keeps the softness of it. It goes to чай. And that's not pretty. Чая. Вот. Okay, следующее. Слово ends in o. And so it's a neuter, but it ends in an o. The o is going to get replaced. Slova. Slova. Not slava. Notice the word stress. If it's slava, that's nominative plural, words. But slova, that's when it becomes a genitive singular. Okay, now let's come down to adjectives. Okay, here we go. So, anything ending in oi, I, we are going to get ova on the end. So, новый becomes нового. Русский becomes русского. Then, if it ends in, okay, same thing with neuters. Neuter endings that are just oye, those ones also get the ava. Now, it gets a little tricky. We get our 5-letter spelling rule. If it ends in ye, it's going to become хорошего. And now, by the way, in spoken speech, you very rarely can hear the difference between yeva and ova. So just to let you know, don't stress over this too much, because one, you have spell check, and two, it's not even audible in spoken speech usually. So, хорошо. Красивый is in genitive case. It's going to go to красивого. Красивого. Большой. Stress is going to stay on that final o. Let's keep it there. Большого. Большого. Okay. Последнее. Последнее. Oh, what happens to ye-yes? Ye-yes go to Yeva. Okay, so последнего. Последнего. Так. Старое goes to старого. Младшее, that has a ye ending. It's going to get the yevo. Младшего. Младшего. Белый is going to get белого. Вот так. Вот так. This is such a good, it's a нудно, it's a tedious, но так полезно, блин. But it's so useful, okay? It's so useful to just sit here and just practice. Okay, just put this word into genitive case, put this word into genitive case, put this word into genitive case. And you just drill. Do that as many times as you need to until you just feel really comfortable. So now let's bring it all to life. Now let me prove to you that I'm not making you learn all these things for just my own amusement. No, these are going to come in handy when you want to say actual sentences in Russian. Okay, so let's say some actual sentences. The thing in parentheses needs to get genitive case. Okay, so we have у, my brother, in parentheses, большой дом. We're trying to say my brother has a big house. My brother has a big house. Okay, so у, and then look at my cute little chart I've provided you here. I've provided you all the possessive adjectives. Look how they all, remember I coined that term, possessive adjectives. I show you how they all break down. I also show you how the word что gets genitive case, how the word кто gets genitive case. It's so cute, right? I think it's adorable. I love it. Anyway, but I'm nerdy like that. Anyway, so we want to say my brother has a big house. У. Okay, and then we come over here to look at what happens to мой. У моего брата. Sorry, that doesn't look good. Большой дом. And the thing he has doesn't change because it gets nominative case. Okay. On is, and then in parentheses is Kiev, okay? Now in English, it is more politically correct to call Kiev Kyiv. Kyiv, if you can hand, Kyiv is the Ukrainian pronunciation. Now all the news stations and everything are saying Kyiv, which is based on the original Ukrainian Kyiv. However, we're speaking Russian, okay? And in Russian, the word for Kiev is Kiev, yeah? And back when it was part of the Soviet Union, we had no problem calling it Kiev. That's what people called it for many years. So don't come after me in the comments. It's called Kyiv. Great. Okay, fine. But in Russian, it's called Kiev. Okay. On is, and then all we do here is add an a onto the end of Kiev. On is Kиева. Все. On is Kиева. Okay. Next, we want to say that we don't have something in our city. В моем городе нет. And then the thing we don't have is озеро, ending in an o. It's a neuter. What happens to things ending in an o in genitive case? We change it out for a. В нашем городе нет. Remember, the thing you don't have gets genitive case. Озеро. Вот. Так. В нашем городе нет озера. Все. Okay. Я не знаю. Wait, I thought знать gets accusative case. You're doing something to it. You're knowing it. Yes, that's very true. But if it's a masculine animate, it's going to get genitive case. You ready for this? So we need to put this phrase. Этот новый студент. We need to put that into genitive case. And look, I even provide you how to put этот. I warned you in the nominative case chapter that это, этот, all of that is going to get cases as well. Okay, so it's going to go like this. It's going to go Я не знаю этого нового студента. Вот так. Я не знаю этого нового студента. Хорошо. Next, you're giving somebody a tour of your house, and they're asking where is the bathroom. They want to take a shower. That's kind of weird. Not in Brazilian culture. They take showers anywhere and everywhere, but Russian culture, that would be weird to just take a shower at some random person's house. But let's just pretend here. So, ванная комната находится слева от, to the left of the office, кабинет. Okay, so кабинет is in parentheses. We want to say, oh, the bathroom is on the left of the office, okay? Not the toilet, the bathroom. So, слева от кабинета. Вот так. Okay, next one. Now we get to practice how we would use these in everyday conversation, okay? So using what you know about genitive case, you're going to do the following tasks. Tell me what kind of city you're from. Maybe it's a big city. Maybe it's a beautiful city. Maybe it's a small city. Maybe it's a rich city, an expensive city. Okay, so let's try it. I'm going to say my city is famous, where I live and where I'm from is famous for being very family friendly and safe. Okay, so I'm going to say the word безопасный город in genitive case. Let's try it. Я из I spelled that wrong. Безопасного города. Я из очень безопасного города. Да, это тихий город, даже неинтересный. Да, очень немножко неинтересный город. Okay? Хорошо. Find out who in your group has a car. So imagine you're calling out to people and be like, who here has, how would we do that in Russian? Do you know? The word кто has to get a case. But don't you worry. Teacher Janey, Жанна Брентовна, I laid this out for you on how to put кто into genitive case. So you're going to say, у кого, I can't even see it. У кого есть машина? Да? Ой, извините, внимание. У кого есть машина? Скажите, пожалуйста, у кого есть машина? У вас есть машина? Нет, у меня нет. А мне нужна машина, блин. У кого есть машина? Right? So that's how you would say it. У кого есть машина? Машина is a nominative case because they have it. Okay? Tell someone a famous male that you respect. Tell someone a famous male that you respect. Okay, so today you heard me trash Tolstoy, right? Я не уважаю Толстого, хотя я очень люблю его произведения, я очень люблю его книги, да? Но вы знаете, кого я уважаю? Я очень... Okay, look what I'm about to do. Я очень уважаю и люблю Dostoevskого. Dostoevskого. Notice that how that last name, same as Tolstoy, if the last name looks like an adjective on the end, Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, who else would there be? You know, Makarevsky. If it has like ski on the end, it's going to decline like adjective. So я очень уважаю Достоевского. Я очень уважаю Достоевского. Я думаю, что он был очень хороший человек. Да? Окей, вот. Последняя задача. Tell someone a state that doesn't have a lake or an ocean in it. Okay, so if you're in the United States, you got to think about all these landlocks. В моем штате много озер. Да? У нас есть соленое озеро, the Great Salt Lake. То есть, I can't say this about mine. But that doesn't have a lake. That's a hard one, because everywhere has lakes. Okay, we'll just go with a state that doesn't have an ocean. Right. В моем штате нет океана. Да? Но есть озера. Есть 3-4 озера. Я не знаю. Даже, может быть, больше. Да. Окей, хорошо. Да, в моем штате нет океана. Нет пляжа. Да. Окей, хорошо. Вот. So that is all for our masculine endings. Now let's take it back to the screen where we are going to review everything you just learned, and hopefully you were paying attention. Here we go. So let's review. Here we go. How would we say, my brother has children? Okay. So we need to put мой брат into genitive case. How would we do it? У моего брата есть дети. Да? У моего брата много детей, кстати. Okay. Next one. How would you say, in our state, there is no sea. Море. Море. We don't have a sea, S-E-A, in our state. Да? So море, ending in a ye. We're going to replace that ye. We're going to say, в нашем штате нет моря. Нет моря. Вот. Okay? All right. I mean, I don't know what rock you've been living under if this is true for you, but you're going to say, I don't know Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy. Okay? Do you guys remember? I had it on the screen. I had it on the screen. I just had it there for a whole bunch. Hopefully you were paying attention. Lev is going to go weird. Lev is going to get really weird. Get ready. Я не знаю льва. Right? So that "я" is a fleeting vowel. Я не знаю льва Nikolaevича. And then Tolstoy looks like an adjective, therefore it's going to decline like an adjective. Толстого. Я не знаю Льва Николаевича Толстого. Again, maybe you're super young, or I don't know why you'd be learning Russian and not know who the heck Tolstoy is. But that's okay. No judgment. It's okay. Whatever your reasons for learning Russian, that's fine. Okay. How would you say, I love this Russian author? So I told you one of my authors that I really respect. He's not my most favorite, but I respect him. Okay. So let's put this phrase, этот русский автор, into genitive case. I love this Russian author. Okay. Let's hear it. We've got to say этот русский автор in genitive case because we are doing something to him. He would normally be accusative, but he's masculine animate. Therefore, he gets genitive case. Let's try it. Я люблю этого русского автора. Я люблю этого русского автора. Вот. Okay, next. You want to say, I am from a big city. Yeah, I am from a big city. So, большой город needs to go into genitive case. How would we do it? Я из большого города. Okay? Next, you need to say, I respect, уважаю по-русски, my friend. Okay, and friend is masculine animate, therefore it's getting genitive. So how would you say I respect my friend? Я уважаю моего друга. Я уважаю моего друга. Да? Хорошо, это все на сегодня. Come back на следующем уроке. We're going to do our feminine endings. And what's crazy about the feminine endings is one, you've seen the adjective endings before, and two, those feminine endings in the feminine singular in genitive is going to look like feminine plural and nominative. So feminine is pretty easy. It's all going to be kind of like, oh, I've seen this before. I've seen this. This is not new. Хорошо? Хорошо. Увидимся на следующем уроке. Пока-пока.